What's up, Everyday Man back? Welcome to a brand new video, and today I want to give my first initial impressions and reactions to the MonsterVerses newest entry. Well, there might be a comic book out now, but the newest entry I've gotten to, Kong Survivor Instinct, the recent video game addition to the MonsterVerse. Let's talk about it. That is right, the MonsterVerse's newest installment, the newest long-form narrative installment to the MonsterVerse, is Kong Survivor Instinct, a video game which was developed by 7 Level Studios, and which is like a 2.5D action platforming adventure game. I've talked about it a lot on the channel already, I've played a little bit of it, I've streamed one session of it and uploaded those videos now, and after playing for about 2 hours, here are my initial thoughts. First of all, I just want to say from a conceptual standpoint, I actually think Kong Survivor Instinct is really strong. It's one of the strongest conceptual narratives in the MonsterVerse in quite some time, in my opinion. I really love the idea of taking a completely average, everyday guy and forcing them to venture into a city during a Titan event in order to find a missing person. I think it's a fantastic way to start the game. It's not an unfamiliar concept for the MonsterVerse to have like, I'm a dad and I gotta go looking for my family. That's pretty much all of the MonsterVerse, but I think this is actually a pretty good version of that. It gives a lot of scale and weight to the characters in the story, and it's a great perspective to be like, we're stuck on the ground during this, and so it just leads into the MonsterVerse in a new way. I also like that it's not a guy who knows really what's going on. It makes it very different. Also, having Alan Jonah showing up using the Orca device recreated in order to lure the Titans around and have these little Titan attacks, it's just a fantastic narrative development for the MonsterVerse, and one that we desperately need to see more of. In my opinion, the strongest aspect of Kong Survivor Instinct is its very solid and noble attempts at meaningfully developing the world of the MonsterVerse. It's not really surprising to me to find out that they started development on Kong Survivor Instinct before Godzilla vs. Kong came out, which means in many ways it kind of functions as an ideological sequel to Godzilla King of the Monsters. This story truly doesn't try to invent anything all that new, although we do get some new Titans. Generally speaking, and again, I've only played a little bit of the game, but it's really trying to build off of the world and ideas of the previous films, which is in my opinion what all good sequels should do. Now, there is a caveat to that. The fact that Kong is attacking a city just after Godzilla vs. Kong is sloppy at best. Again, haven't played too much of the game yet, but the game fundamentally does not fit into the puzzle that is the MonsterVerse films. It would have been acknowledged. It's too big of an event to ignore. It's crazy that this wouldn't be something that somebody at least referenced in the new Empire. And like, where's Godzilla? Godzilla would be involved. I know they said they've got some idea of where he is, but it just seems weird that Godzilla wouldn't be there. And so there are some big issues, like it doesn't totally fit into the canon in a meaningful way just yet. As far as the graphics go, I think they look pretty good. It reminds me of like a scaled down aesthetic of Dying Light, or even a little bit of The Last of Us, which I think is pretty cool. I really like that kind of apocalyptic setting. It's very neat. There are graphical issues in this game, of course, like characters kind of clipping in and out of objects occasionally. And then like when Kong shows up, his fur isn't as textured or detailed as you'd hope. There are some times where Kong himself isn't as textured as you'd hope, like the back of his hands having no fur or whatever. And it's very clear that this is a low budget game. Other than that though, like the character designs are all pretty good. Apart from Kong's missing scars from Godzilla on his chest, Kong looks great in this game. Pretty decent so far. I'm excited to get into the new Titans. As far as the gameplay goes, it's okay. That's kind of the issue here. I'm not big into 2D platformer games. I'm just not a platforming fan. I think I would have enjoyed this game more if it was 3D, but you know, it is what it is, and it is really repetitive. The combat is already incredibly repetitive. It's also not as responsive as you'd think. Like I'm trying to dodge out of the way or whatever, and I'm not dodging as much as you'd think. It does not give you enough time to parry like a Batman Arkham game would, for instance. There's a lot of the combat in this game that I just don't think is up to the standard for the game itself. The puzzles and exploration are fun, but it does kind of feel a little at times aimless. And then finally, like the sound design and soundtrack, they're pretty good, if not a little unmemorable. I'm excited to hear more of it. I think the sound design overall is pretty solid. And then the soundtrack, again, it's good, but it's not the most memorable MonsterVerse score or anything. Now, I'm gonna turn it over to myself from my stream so you can hear my literal initial impressions right after I finished playing the game. Please enjoy. Thank you for tuning in for the first gameplay of Kong Survivor Instinct. I'll give my thoughts real fast. You know, so far, I'm having the same thoughts as I have with other MonsterVerse projects, which is like, if it's the animated Skull Island show or this Kong Survivor Instinct, or I've come to accept these days the comics and such. The comics, I think, actually hold a little more weight than the animated show or Kong Survivor Instinct seems to. But for the most part, like, I gotta just let go of the fact that they're pretending these are canon and acknowledge the fact that they are not canon, and then I can have a lot more fun with it. As a canon experience in the MonsterVerse, I would have so many questions as to like, what do you mean all of this is going on right after Godzilla vs. Kong? Where's Godzilla? Why is this never mentioned again? But I will say, as a video game, I actually think it's pretty cool. I like running around the world of the MonsterVerse. I like seeing all the Monarch logos everywhere. I like coming across little lore tidbits and finding out about Alan Jonah's group and what's going on there. That's a fun mystery that's unraveling. I like Kong running around the background. It's a shame that we don't get to play as Kong and such, but look, here's another thing I'll say. I loved the potential for the game City Shrouded in Shadow. I never got to play it, but I've always loved the idea of you being a human running around a city being destroyed by kaiju. I don't think that this is a great adaptation of that premise. Like, I think that there's so much more to do with that idea, but this is a decent job. Like, I enjoy it for what it is. I'm not a platforming game fan. This is a platforming game. As a platforming game, I'm having fun with the idea that it's a platformer in the MonsterVerse with Kong running around. I like the Orca Sigma, you know, it's a fun little tie-in to the MonsterVerse. I think it's a fun mechanic to let you interact with the monsters without getting to play as them. So for the most part, there's a lot of stuff in this game that as a game I can get behind. It's not my style of game. I personally would not want a platforming game. Like, if I get to pick any MonsterVerse game, I wouldn't be picking a platformer. As far as the fact that this is what we were given, I think it's a pretty good platformer. I like the puzzles a lot. I like the exploration, the combat I find to be pretty repetitive at this point, but for the most part, I'm having a lot of fun with the general idea of the game. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts. What do you guys think so far? I think the game is a solid 7 out of 10. Would I have preferred a game where we play as the Titans? Yes, but for what it is, I think it's not bad. See, Dragon, you and I are on the exact same wavelength, it seems. Thank you for the stream. Love your channel. Well, thank you so much, Storm. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. What would I rate this game so far? Probably a 6 out of 10. It's fun, but there's a lot of room for improvement for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's all right. I think a 7 out of 10 is a very fair rating for this game. I don't blame you, Nuclear Goji. I think that's a very fair rating. We might be getting more Godzilla MonsterVerse games, probably, seeing Toho has a business plan for the next 3 years. I think it's a very likely possibility we will. It's fine, I guess. Gameplay gets hella repetitive fast, though. Yes, it does. Godzilla 54, have you played it, or are you just going based on watching? But yeah, it certainly does. Me personally, this game is a 6 out of 10, which in my rating is a decent game with repetitive combat and questionable voice acting. Mickey, I kind of agree. Like, the actor, he's got a good voice. He's got a very voiceover voice, but I do kind of feel like sometimes I'm questioning what emotions are being displayed, if that makes sense. Like, is that the emotion you'd be going with there? Seems decent. Gameplay, not the best, but has some good lore. That's pretty much how I feel about it. I have played this game and my rating is 7 out of 10 too, because it's not lore accurate. Yeah, Atomic Lizard, that holds it back for me as well. I've played it like halfway through. Nice, so you've seen all this, so I'm not spoiling anything. Can't wait until a future MonsterVerse film canonizes that Kong Netflix show. Yeah, that'll never happen. The day that happens, I'll be very confused, because that show has so many continuity issues. It simply cannot be part of the MonsterVerse. Alrighty, thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate it. Big thanks to my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below. Patrons get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. If that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. Also, I have a link down there as well. I really appreciate all the extra support I get. It's the reason that I can do streams like this, because like otherwise I'm not going to be buying a game like this. So I really appreciate all of the support. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.